Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Steven, flying solo, and at long last, we're going to be able to talk about Fantasy Dota 2 or TI8. It's been a really agonizingly long wait to actually even find out who is going to be in the groups for the group stages at TI8. We only got the actual official announcement a couple days ago. We know how the 18 teams are distributed, and Group A is a lot stronger than Group B, if I recall correctly. One of the groups is absolutely stacked, the other one not so much, and that is going to be really important for your fantasy picks this year in the group stages. Once it actually hits the main event, things go very differently. But for now, we actually have a pretty good setup for how you should approach getting in those early picks for your fantasy lineup. So I'm gonna start up my screen share, and I've got a nice little quick slideshow to discuss who you should choose and who you should avoid in the group stages to TI8. Now, as we previously discussed, the biggest factor when it comes to picking at any stage in your fantasy lineups is how many games they're going to play on that day. You're going to want to pick the teams that are playing as much as possible every single day. Doesn't matter how good they are. If a team is mediocre and it plays 3 series in a day as opposed to a great team that plays 2 series in a day, you pick the team that plays 3 series in a day 100% of the time. And that is actually really important for this year's TI8, because teams like Virtus Pro, teams like EG, teams like LGD Gaming, they end up getting forced out simply because they're not playing 3 games or 3 series each day for most of the days. It's going to be tricky, but we're going to help you. And I already checked out the schedule to give you the teams that you should pick on each day. So here's day 1. The way that things are distributed, you're going to want to play 100% PSG LGD, Evil Geniuses, and Team Liquid. As you can see, Evil Geniuses is underscored and bolded there. That's because they're, in my opinion, the juiciest pick of the day. They got the best schedule. They're going to play, each of them is going to play 3 series. And matchup-wise, I feel like Evil Geniuses is your best bet to get points. Now, teams to avoid, that's basically the entire Group B, as well as Winstrike and Fnatic, who just don't actually play 2 games that day, or who only play 2 games that day. So you're going to want to focus in on PSG LGD, Evil Geniuses, and Team Liquid 100%. And those are, 3 of the 4 best teams heading into TI8. So that kind of goes without saying. Now, day 2 is more heavy on Group B. And because of that, you see all of Group A move over into the teams to avoid. But Virtus Pro ends up having only 2 series that day. So they end up alongside VG Gaming J Storm in the teams to avoid section. Now, your teams to play, Newbie and VG Gaming, are by far the best teams to play that day. Not only do they play 3 series each, but just in general, the longer a game goes, the more fantasy points you're going to get. And in the case of Newbie and VG Gaming, they both actually play a very slow, methodical style. And that's going to help with your help you with your fantasy team, on top of the fact that they play the most. Optic Gaming, Team Secret, and TNC Pro Team are pretty good picks. Optic Gaming and Team Secret both very good, play 3 series. TNC, not as good on paper as a team, but fantasy-wise, they are great and have been consistently great for the last few years. So all those are strong plays, but Newbie and VG Gaming are my teams to really exploit on day 2. Now, day 3, it goes back to being a Group A day. Team Liquid, Winstrike are your teams to really focus in on. Evil Geniuses and LGD, as well as Mineski, end up moving over to the teams to avoid section because they don't play 3 series that day. Team Liquid and Winstrike have the best matchups. Team Winstrike, a very good, kind of underrated even team. They have a very aggressive style. They might end up playing some really short games, which is possibly going to hurt your fantasy chances. But I think they are still going to end up being the best team alongside Team Liquid to focus in on day 3. Team Liquid, you don't need me to sell you on them. They've been great all year. They won TI7. There you go. OG and Fnatic are both options on day 3, but we're going to really need to pay attention to how they look on days 1 and 2. They're both good teams, but both of them have issues that make them kind of shaky fantasy picks. OG still has a very fresh lineup. We're not really sure how well they are chemistry-wise. We're not really sure how long that lineup is even going to stay together necessarily. Fnatic, on the other hand, very good team, but very inconsistent. We all know the eternal envy jokes, blah, blah, blah. They've had their good moments this year. They've had their bad moments this year. We're going to want to see which version of Fnatic shows up at TI8, because they might be great. They might not be. Either way, they're an okay pick at this stage for day 3. That might change, but for now, if you're just looking to get your picks in, right now, you can feel fairly confident in picking OG and Fnatic on day 3. So day 4, you're only going to have 3 blocks of games on day 4, and two of those blocks are going to be Group B. And only those 4 teams, Virtus Pro, Optic Gaming, Team Secret, and Pain Gaming, play both those series. This is by far the best day fantasy-wise for Virtus Pro, by a mile. It's, in fact, the only day you should play Virtus Pro, which is amazing because they're the favorites to win entering TI. But with the way that the schedule shakes out, day 4 is the only day you're going to want to play them in fantasy for the group stages. Optic Gaming, Team Secret, and Pain Gaming are all decent enough options. Just like with Fnatic and OG, we don't really know which versions of those teams are going to show up. So you're going to want to, if you can, take in a few games from each on days 1 and 2 and 3 before you really pick confidently. But for now, if you're just, again, looking to get your fantasy lineup filled out for the first 4 days, those are the teams you want to have on your lineup in day 4. So I'm going to switch over to the actual Dota 2 client and show you how my lineup looks. Now, you're not going to want to follow my picks necessarily because you're going to have different cards. If I had a gold Arteezy card, you can bet that he would be in one of these spots over Sumail or Ame. But they're both good options. So go ahead and take this in. Again, PSG, LGD, EG, and Team Liquid are going to be the teams you want to really go in on day 1. Here's my day 2 lineup. As you can see, completely different. I've got a lot more in the way of Chinese teams outside of LGD, but I've also got a nice gold CCNC card. Well, nice-ish. It doesn't have great stat boosts. And I've got Tim's because TNC, pretty good fantasy-wise. So here's my day 4 lineup. I actually have a full lineup with no commons. How about that? Decent options all across the board. And day 5, as you can see, very, very Virtus Pro heavy, with another appearance by CCNC. So we're not going to go into the actual main event because we don't know what the schedule is going to be like. We don't necessarily even know which teams are going to be available. 2 teams are getting eliminated in the group stages. And then on top of that, not everybody is going to play each day during the main event. Just in terms of other random notes for who you should pick on your team, for the support positions in particular, if you're making your picks, you're going to want to check out Liquipedia or any other source where you can find team lineups. You're going to want to focus in on picking the number 4 support player rather than the number 5. On Team Liquid, for example, GH is the number 4, Kuroki is the number 5. Just in general, with how this meta has been shaking out, the number 4 position is going to get higher GPM and a better KDA. And because of that, you're going to want to avoid the 5th position and play the 4th position as often as possible. This might end up being better for you, or this might end up shaking out to be the opposite for you, depending on what your card situation is. But I'd say for 90% of the people out there, you're going to want to pick the number 4 spots rather than the number 5 spots. And if you notice on my lineup, I don't have a single number 5. I've actually got a decent Kuroki card that I could plug in here over Lanham, but I'm going with that. I'm going with that common Lanham rather than a silver Kuroki, just because I'm more confident in the number 4 positions to get stats than the number 5s. So another random note before we sign off is that if you go into your Battle Pass, they brought back the Pro Circuit Predictions tab for TI8. And you're going to want to take advantage of this because it's the only way to actually get the Pro Circuit TI8 prediction achievement that you can see over here. It can actually net you up to 5 levels. It can net you a lot of levels, actually. If you can get 50 Pro Circuit winners, that's 50 levels. Or, excuse me, that's 8 levels. So that's a lot. And that's something we're going to want to take advantage of. And the only way you can do it is by clicking in there. And then, oh, it's bugging out naturally. See if it works again. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, just go in here, click that button that you saw right here. And yeah, just pick out as many teams as you can. You want to spread out your points as much as possible. Don't drop all 60 of your tokens on one specific team. You're going to want to try and just spread that out as much as possible. Teams to pick, teams to favor are going to be PSG LGD, Team Liquid, Virtus Pro, Evil Geniuses. I'd look at them as favorites over anybody that they play. Teams to pick against consistently would be Team Serenity, Pain Gaming, OG, and TNC. They're not necessarily bad teams. There we go. They're not necessarily bad teams, but they are teams that you're going to want to exploit for the purposes of this. So you just do it like this. I'll go with Newbie here. Beach Gaming, Virtus Pro. That's a tough one, but I'll go with LGD, Invictus Gaming, Mineski, Windstrike, and then you click Submit, and then it'll lock it in for that game. And you can't change it after that. So, but again, take advantage of this as soon as possible because it starts locking as the games start. So you're going to want to make sure that you can get this in before it goes away. So do this ASAP. So that's the end of this video. And you can hopefully see me now. Yeah, you can see me now. So that's who you should choose for your fantasy lineups. Again, make sure to check out our video channel and find our predictions if you need any help with that. The actual TI8 predictions officially lock, I'm looking it up now, in 15 hours. Ooh. So get those in. I'll put a link to that video in the description. And as a random note, make sure you have Ame as your player with most less hits in a game. I made a mistake with that on the video, but I want to make up for it as much as possible. Ame from PSG LGD as the player with most last hits in a game. So everybody have a great week. Once the main event starts, we're going to be doing daily installments again, so you can, get tips on who to pick as the tournament progresses. And yeah, that's that. Everyone have a great week. Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, and yeah, enjoy TI8 because it's been a long time coming. Now I'm excited.